Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. So today we'll be making a dress. I know, how original. So the whole idea behind this dress is that I found a couple of patterns and vintagey looking dresses. No specific time for this, but definitely like 20th century, I guess. Vintage 1970s, I don't know. I'll put the inspirations here. I need to sit in the middle of this, here. The whole idea behind this dress is that I got some vintage buttons. I can't remember where I got them now because it was so long ago. It must have been 3 or 4 years ago. And I just thought they would look really great all together on the front of a bodice. And so the dress was basically built around that until I found these examples that worked with that design. And this might sound a bit weird, but one of my absolute favourite colours is grey. I know, not very interesting. But I absolutely love it, and I have a lot of grey in my wardrobe, but why would I want more? And I found this perfect fabric, which is sort of a warm grey. I don't really know how to explain it, but grey can be like, can have that warm sort of chocolatey undertone. The most pretentious thing I've ever said. And so I bought fabric for it once I found it. It was a really good deal online. It's no longer available, sadly, but I think it was pretty affordable. It was a discounted wool blend. And it was down to, I think, £8 per metre. And I got 4 or 5. Yeah. So I'm not really sure how high the wool content in it is, but it has a really nice weight and it is thin, so you can see why it's not like a very expensive wool suiting kind of thing. But it looks good and I'm really excited about it. And I guess let's get to sewing.
My first step was to drape the bodice. I wasn't sure how much of this it was helpful to show, but I find watching other people drape helps me, so I included it all. I just place a piece of fabric pinned on the grain at the center front. Then I smooth out the fabric towards the side seam, pinning as I go. Often around the bust and waist, extra fabric needs to be taken out. For this bodice, we will have princess seams, which are curved seams from the waist up through the bust and towards the arm, where the excess fabric is taken out and creates a smooth fit. I drew on my style lines, like the waistline marking, the seams, the neckline with a pen, and then carefully removed the fabric from the form. I transferred this to paper and did a few mock-ups. Once I was happy with the pattern, I placed it onto my cotton drill, which will be the interlining, and added seam allowance. I then used these pieces to cut out the grey outer fabric. I carefully transferred all the notches and ironed all the pieces.
So today we're trying a little bit of a different video format. I hope it's okay. I just wanted to go through the kinds of choices and decisions you have to make when making a dress, just in case you're new to sewing or whatever. So I've cut out the outer fabric, which is this beautiful wool suiting, and I've cut out the interlining, which is this cotton drill. The wool is really nice, but it is very lightweight, and I wanted the bodice to have a little bit more structure, so I knew it was going to need an interlining. Usually with interlining, what you do is you baste the two layers together and then treat it as one. A couple of issues with this is that it leaves your raw edges showing, which means you'll have to finish the seams in a different way, which sometimes can add bulk. Now the other option would be to construct the two bodices, I guess, separately and then attach them together. I've done this for a couple of things before, mainly for cosplay, and although it worked well at the time, I'm not confident that it would give me the kind of fit I want. So I don't want it to, if there's any slight misalignment there, it might end up looking a bit baggy or uneven or bubbly, and that's not what I want. So what I think I'm going to do is indeed going to treat it as interlining and flat line all these pieces. I'm not sure how I'm going to finish the seams yet. I'm going to have to try to find the easiest and less bulky manner, so I'll keep you updated on that.
Then these pieces are pinned together and basted. This is usually called flatlining.
Okay, so all the pieces are now flat-lined with the cotton drill, whatever. I noticed that I've done a lot of flatlining for a lot of different things, and I found that it's easier to do with the fashion fabric outwards. So I did most of them that way, but I also realized that at some point I absentmindedly changed, but I won't be redoing those. I think it'll be fine. I just pressed them all nicely, and now I'm just going to baste and sew all the side seams. So something that you may not know about me is that I always do this thing where I buy fabric endlessly, but I never buy thread. So you might have just seen me try to find something that matches this well in my stash, and it is clearly obvious that I do not have enough thread to sew this dress. However, we are currently on lockdown, so I don't really know when will I acquire matching thread. Possibly online. I might have to order more than one to try and get a good match, which is pretty annoying. So there might be a slight delay between now and the next video, but you know, this is true sewing, unprepared.
1 week later.
Now that my thread had arrived, I was able to sew up the seams by machine. These curvy seams can be really tricky, but I find a short stitch and to go slowly to help. I also stop, lift the presser foot, smooth out the wrinkles, and then continue sewing. For a smooth finish, I decided I did not want to line the bodice, and instead I'm going to finish the edges with facings. I cut a placket for the front since there will be buttons there. The placket will be on the loop side in case the dress gapes or anything like that. For the other facings, I trace around the front and neckline of the front piece and add a few inches in width. I do the same to the back. At this point, I sew up and press open the shoulder seams. The facings are sewn together across the shoulders too. Then they are pinned from the center front, sandwiching the placket in between the bodice and the facing, up towards the shoulder, across the back, and then back down to the front on the other side. This is sewn by machine, then pressed open and inwards. I didn't understitch this because some of the points were inaccessible, but I found my pressing was sufficient.
So I just want to talk to you guys about how sewing sometimes makes 0 sense. So this bodice, I did 2 or 3 mock-ups, fit me great, it's still looking pretty fine. There is some wrinkling here, but yes. But so what I was doing was I was figuring out the size of each panel for the skirt, because all of these are different sizes, so I was going to make them all different sizes. I will explain it better. However, I measured the whole of the bodice, which totaled 38 inches.
My waist is not 38 inches, but trying this on, I mean, it is a little loose, but it doesn't feel 6 inches too big loose. So I just don't really understand what is going on. How does this make any sense?
So the bodice is kind of like in a good ways, and the next step, I can't quite finish the bodice until I attach the skirt, because the bodice is going to close at the back with a long zipper. And the zipper is going to go into the skirt. So I'll need to sew the skirt to the bodice before inserting the zipper, and inserting the zipper is what finishes the bodice. Or should I put sleeves in first? I hate sleeves. Everyone hates sleeves. I usually leave the sleeves for last, but it's usually easier to set them on if you don't have a heavy full dress. Whatever, let's go on to the skirt.